morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to UWE MSM E-Summit. As you got the invite, you must be aware this E-Summit is related to the offerings we are having for January intake. So what we have for January intake for you, for your students. So I hope you will have this a fruitful session for the coming intake. I hand over this to Ray, our own Ray. So there's no special introduction required. So Professor Ray Priest is here. And along with him, we have Sandhya Shastri. She's from our business school, and giving her intro will take the whole session. So I'll just hand over to Ray to give a brief introduction about her. Ray.
Thanks, Jancy, and it's great to be here with everybody again. I just feel like it's meeting old friends, really, because we were together 2 weeks ago, and here we are now 2 weeks later, still in my home, still the same room, and still the same mug with the coffee in it, which, if you remember, I have for every single session that I actually do with you, because this is the thing that keeps me going. And isn't it fantastic having Sandhya with us today, who, as you've heard, is our Director of Strategic Engagement in the Faculty of Business and Law. We're going to be hearing lots from Sandhya later on, but just to let you all know that she's currently in Bangalore. So she's very close to all of you, whereas I'm a long way away. So it's great that Sandhya is over visiting her family. And she's been telling us ghost stories this morning. So I don't know if we're going to hear any more ghost stories in the presentation in the next hour. But to be honest, everything I'm going to share with you for the next 30 minutes is so frightening that you won't want to be worried about a ghost story. Well, I'm quite pleased with this first slide. I put this first slide on, you know, it was one that you actually took from the PowerPoint slide. I didn't realize it all moved, but this reminds me very much of our Bloomberg room, our learning suite, where people actually do all the share dealing and everything. So I'm quite impressed with that. But anyway, today, what we're going to do, as Jancy has said, is we're going to be looking at things that are happening for January. And we're, I hope, going to get quite excited about looking ahead to 2021. So this is not a time for thinking about the September intake. They're already on their way. In fact, students have already been turning up. And I'm going to tell you a quick story, because Indian students thought they'd got away with something. Because, of course, when they go to the UK, they have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. And they actually made a call. This is 3 students who had travelled from India. They'd got to the UK. They were staying actually in a kind of a hotel guest house. And they made a call to the university to say, oh, when should we come in to complete our registration? And the person said, not at the moment, you're meant to be self-isolating. Are you in the room? And they said, yes, we're here at Starbucks. I mean, and immediately, because they let it out, they were actually at the Starbucks coffee shop. And so they were immediately told to go back to their room because they were risking a fine of £10,000. And so it was a bit of a funny story, really. We've enjoyed it in terms of that, but we know they're safe. They are nearly completed now, their self-isolation period, and will be off to the university. So that's really great news. Anyway, let's have a look at what we're going to be doing today. Obviously, we're looking to the future. And as I've said, the future is really bright. I always show this bridge, you know that. I'm not going to tell you the story this time because I always tell you the same story about the bridge. But of course, this bridge that was built in the 19th century at a time when I think there was such great hope and such kind of real drive for the future, that I think it's quite a fitting start to our webinar today, because really, this is what we're thinking about. We're thinking about our students joining us in January and again next summer, and we have such great hopes for them. We really have hopes that they'll have great careers, whether it's in the UK, back in India, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, or Nepal, wherever it is that they're going to work in the future. And we hope very much that our degrees are going to help them on that career path. So Bristol, that great city, always love to share the picture with you because it is such a beautiful city with lovely countryside, as well as having all the things that a big city has. Well, let's just actually think a little bit in terms of an update of where we are now. But before I do the update, I have to keep doing this. I want you to look at what is the right-hand side of the screen as I look at it, because 3 very important statistics there. The first one, of course, we're celebrating that we're in the top 500 universities in the world. But that sounds like a big number to me, but it's still pretty impressive that we're up there in the top 500. But now the numbers get smaller. And isn't it brilliant that we're 21st in the Guardian League table? And of all the modern universities, that means the universities that were created in the last sort of 100 years, that puts us as a top performing university. So we're really pleased about that particular statistic. And in fact, Sri Lanka were telling us that in Sri Lanka, with all the partner universities we have in Sri Lanka, we are the highest ranked UK university that's actually working with partners in Sri Lanka. So that's really good for you to be able to sell to the students. But the one that I always talk about, and I know Sandy is going to be talking about later on, is what the students actually think. Because the students, once again, voted the university not first. We're going to have to do something about that. But they did vote as second in England in terms of their student satisfaction, how pleased they are with the courses. So these three kind of logos, these three, I guess you call them rankings, are really important to us, as are many of others. But actually, the most important ranking of all, in my mind, is whether students have a great experience, a great learning experience, and as I said at the beginning, if they have such a brilliant future as a result of getting the degree. But just a little bit around some of the bits and pieces that you need to know for January. January arrivals, well, actually will begin as the September start did with the online Block Zero. Now, before you all shout at me, I know with Block Zero starting this month, there were a few connection problems. This is our technology going a bit wrong, a few technological problems. I think we should have actually had some Indian services helping us there. We obviously were relying a little bit too much on UK technology and it didn't work. And so I do apologise for that, but it has been put right now. And of course, in January, now we know what we're doing, that Block Zero will work really well. Now, this means the students don't actually have to be in the UK for their face-to-face teaching experience until the 8th of February. Now, we are going to be sending you very soon details of all the coach pickups, all the pickup times from Heathrow Airport. Don't forget, all the airlines are running from India, Air India, British Airways, and those special student flights with SpiceJet. All of those are going to be available in January, and we will be making sure that the students who are picked up, so they're taken to the university, and if we still have self-isolation in January, for them to actually complete that. Now, thinking about those courses, if you do get the question, I know it's fairly obvious, but it is something that I know students ask, particularly students who are interested in the graduate route, being able to stay and work. The courses will run for a year. So that means they're not going to be complete until December of 2021. And if they're on postgraduate courses and they're having to do their research, their dissertation, they may ask for that to be a little bit longer. And that brings me to the last part of this sort of talk around the graduate route, and that is the fact that the graduate route visa cannot be applied for until the student has actually graduated. They have to complete. They have to have done that before they can apply for the visa. So what are we talking about? We're talking about January in 2022 for them to be able to apply, but it might be a bit later. Their visa, their study visa, will run for 15, 16 months. And so they can stay in the UK right up until about March or April before they have to apply for that graduate route visa. It will be available for everyone. However, if I were a student, I'd work really hard on all of the courses up until late August. And then if I'm on those postgraduate courses, I'd get on with my dissertation and I'd get it wrapped up by the December. Now, next year, looking further ahead, next September, most of our courses will be running, all of our undergraduate courses, but most of our postgraduate courses as well, will move back to a September start. This year, we've offered nearly every course that's available at postgraduate level in January. Next year, that's not going to be the case. I would say that in September, we will offer all courses, and in January, we'll be offering the most popular courses. So for next January, you will see lots of courses in the business school, but perhaps less in areas like engineering or IT. Those areas you need to look towards September 2021. But the good news is that the student fees next year are frozen. They're going to be the same prices as this year. And so student fees both in September and January, exactly the same as this year. And that's really good news. We will be sharing a bit later on some good news around scholarships. So I'll talk to you a bit more about that later on, because we hopefully will have an even better scholarship package for next year. But the most important thing is the fees are going to stay the same. Now, the one thing though, I think is important to realise is that this year there have been lots of concessions and flexibility about when students apply, about when they start on their programme, all of those things. Let's hope that the world improves and things get a lot better next year. But if they do, there will obviously be less flexibility about the times when students can start on their programmes, things like that. But I don't think that's something for us to worry about now. That's something we can talk about when we have yet another one of our gatherings in a few weeks' time. Visa rules, I know lots of you have been asking questions about the new visa that comes into place on October the 5th. The good news for all of you across South Asia is that I don't think it really impacts on you or your students. First of all, let's say that a CAS that has been issued now, and yet the student decides to apply for their visa after October the 5th, do they have to apply for a new CAS? No, they don't. Whatever CAS they have, it is valid for that full 6 months of the CAS duration. If you're not clear on that, we can come back to that in the question and answer sessions. After October the 5th, will we still be able to accept English assessments, all those range of assessments that we do now? Ielts, TOEFL, Duolingo, our own English placement test. Don't forget, we run those placement tests every Wednesday. Can we still accept those for the new visa? Yes, we can. So no change there. The next thing I know lots of people are asking about is that the points have changed. Students now need to get 70 points after October the 5th for their visa. But actually, all it is that points have been reclassified. If you like, new numbers are being used. But actually, the same judgments will be made when a visa is being awarded. These judgments are things like bank statement checks. You know, all those financial requirements are still there. Obviously, the qualification requirements, the English language requirements as now, and the requirement of having the CAS, the sponsorship from the university. One bit of bad news is that after October the 5th, if somebody applies for their visa, the health surcharge, that's the amount of money, if you remember, that students have to pay to actually access health services in the UK, is increasing, and the cost is nearly doubling. So I guess what I'm saying is that students have to be prepared for that. There's nothing we can do about that. The reality is it's currently £300, it's moving up to £600 something. I forget the exact figure, but it does mean that students are going to have to pay more for that visa to get the health care that they might need when they're in the UK. And they can't opt out of that. They have to have the health surcharge and pay for that. If you've got any questions about visas, we can come back to that at the end of our discussion today. A couple of bits of exciting news. Building work is starting in October, so next month, on 2,500 new student apartments on campus. So Sandhya is going to love it because she's going to be working when she goes back to the UK right next to a building site. No, quite seriously, the building is going where we have some old accommodation on the edge of the campus, but it's really great to know by next year, about a year's time, there'll be all those new student apartments ready, which will mean we've actually got 7,000 student apartments on campus alone. So that's pretty great news. And people have also been worried about numbers going to the UK this year. Well, I've been looking at the figures, and so far we've achieved about 90% of our targets for 2020 in terms of students going to the UK. Why is that? Well, it's actually, of course, down to you and the work that you've been putting in with our team across the whole of the region, because it has been amazing. The response has been fantastic. And we've been swamped with applications, and it's been a real struggle for us at times, but you've kept on supporting us and sending us new applications, and we're really grateful for that. So I think quite amazing in what is a challenging year that we will have achieved 90% of the targets that we anticipated actually recruiting in 2021. And the reason I wanted to share that is because I want you to be confident in terms of actually talking about the university to students in the future. The university is up and running and ready to go. I'm not going to talk through all these, but just to say, here are all the courses that are now open for January. We've already had a couple of hundred people applying in the last week or so, ready for courses to start in January. All of these postgraduate courses are available. Today, Sandhya will share a little bit about some of those courses in the business school and some of the main reasons why students should join our business school. But obviously, we have engineering faculty, we have the graphics and the art side. We obviously have all those health-related courses, and it's lovely to see from Nepal a number of students, particularly going to study nursing this year. And that's true in terms of all of our programs, a really wide range of programs available this January, but they are filling fast. So my message today is talk to the students and say, don't hang on, don't wait for another month or 6 weeks before you apply. The most important thing is get the application in, get the deposit in, secure your place at the university. And as I've always said, if there was a reason that a student could not come to the university in January, some family reason, a reason that perhaps the money was no longer available, we will return their deposit. Nobody is going to lose money if for whatever reason they have to withdraw from coming to the university this year. So here's all the range of January courses. And I have to say, I look at that range and I get quite excited about quite a number of them as well. So when I did my courses at university, half of these things were definitely not available. So it's really great to see all of this. And of course today, before I introduce Sandhya again, just the long list in our Faculty of Business and Law, our business school. Well, it's just an amazing list because it's a long list of undergraduate programs, of programs at postgraduate level. I'm not mentioning today the opportunity to actually do postgraduate study, PhDs, but that's there as well within the school. And this business school every year is shortlisted to be in the top business schools in the UK. It's quite remarkable. I mean, I've been at the university 10 years and it's difficult for me to remember a year when our business school isn't ranked in that top 4 or 5 finalists for that. And I think one of the key reasons for that is the message that I'm always giving you. And that is that all of the courses are so linked to actually what happens in the real world, delivered and taught by people who've got real world experience. And what I mean by real world is they haven't just worked in education. I'm sure Sandhya will tell us some of her life story as well in terms of where she's actually worked and come from, because I think that gives a kind of flavour of what you will find with all of our staff across the business school. She might also tell you a ghost story, but I keep mentioning that. So if she does, don't forget that Sandhya is somebody, do you really believe the stories? I'll ask you for the actual presentation.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I thought you were on mute, you see, Sandhya.
No, well, you see, just get in there when I can.
Anyway, the last bit, and then I'm going to hand over to Sandhya, the next range, all of the school has these postgraduate courses. Remember, next year, these courses are going to operate in September and only some of them in January. We can't tell you the January 2022 yet range of courses, but it won't be them all. And the last slide before I go over to Sandhya, just a long list. I could just go on showing you the list. I'm not going to read them all out, but I think it's time now for me to hand over to Sandhya because she knows a lot more than I do about all of these business programs. And so over to her.
Thank you, Ray, and good morning to everybody. I'm in your time zone, more or less. Bhutan and Nepal probably slightly ahead of of me. I'm in Bangalore, and you can probably hear the hustle bustle. There is no real, we are operating here as normal, to be honest. So I'm not sure what what I was going to expect here, but very good to know you all. And I just wanted to say that UWE, I have worked in other places, as Ray mentioned, before I joined UWE. I worked with Northampton, I worked with Bedfordshire, and I'm an external at De Montfort, Plymouth, many others as well. So I know what goes on there, and Coventry, and I just wanted to say that it's not about me or Ray or any one of us saying that UWE is a really good place for students to study, but it is the students themselves who say, who've expressed that. And I just want to show you some key statistics on the survey that was done for postgraduate students all over the UK. And UWE has been ranked consistently on the top 10. Obviously, we are very proud of this. And if there had been a survey this year, because of COVID, we didn't have a survey, I'm pretty positive we would have probably jumped to a rank number 1 or 2 in terms of the student satisfaction on postgraduate. And I want to concentrate on the postgraduates because in South Asia, we do get more demand from students for postgraduate coming into the UK. And the PTES, the 91% student satisfaction with UWE, represents almost 10% above the sector, which is absolutely fantastic. So we're looking at 80 to 82% being the standard, the average across different universities. But the UK, in UWE, we have maintained 91% upwards. PTES stands for Postgraduate Taught Experience of students. So it's the students themselves saying, what a fantastic university this is. And I'm very proud to be one of the academics as well, looking after MBA students, MSc students, and so on. So next slide, please, and I will go a bit more into detail. So I just want to move away just for a minute from just the business and management and go on to cover the entire portfolio of programs that UWE offer in postgraduate courses. 35 programs scored over 92% and 16 actually achieved a perfect 100%. I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. You know, South Asians love to have 100% on everything that we do. And the ones that I have looked at for you here is animation, virtual reality, and all the ones in black are not the faculty of business, not from the business school, but they are equally important for you to be able to sell some of these programs. They're really, really cutting edge, as well as move students from being able to not just study and score well, but also find jobs thereafter. And that is very important as well. So I just wanted to share with you MSc Accounting and Finance. I thought I saw a Q&A, a question about accounting and finance, which I'm sure the team will be able to answer. It's about the Gujarat state English language and so on. But PG DIP in bar professional training course, full-time obviously for international students, MSc Finance, graduate diploma law. And what makes this so enjoyable for students, as I have heard, is from the students themselves, is academics or the teachers or the tutors don't just come from an academic background. We come from a very eclectic, very diverse industry experience from different sectors. I, for myself, I'm not a career academic. I came in from industry. I worked with the criminal justice system. So other than actually scaring people about ghost stories, I have a lot of real life scary stuff, because I did set up a prison in Peterborough and worked there for 4 years. And I worked with the police for 3 years as well. And therefore, I come from a criminal justice background, also from international development. And most of my colleagues actually have had proper real life, real time experience as managers and executives, and they have now come on to teach. And many of us actually are still either on the board of companies, or we are consulting for companies, etc. So there is a huge, big link from not just teaching in the classroom, but also what happens in business and in other professions as well, as you can see. One of the other areas, as Ray touched upon, is Bristol is an absolutely beautiful city. It's much more beautiful than London is. Okay, I'm a great fan of all other cities other than London, but coming from a similar background as yourselves, I can relate more to Bristol. And one of the reasons is the location of our university is actually in between very big companies. And these companies you will be familiar with. One is Hewlett-Packard, which is a HP. Many of you would be using HP computers and so on. So that's right next to our campus. Then we've got Airbus, flying Airbus, and they make the wings there. So that is another big company. And you would have heard of Rolls-Royce, which makes obviously luxury cars, but also engines for all of the aerospace industry. So they're all around the campus. And Ministry of Defense, which is a very big employer, and they are into all kinds of manufacturing products, which we can't talk about. We don't know half of them because that's top secret. But what it brings to us is, with a university, there is this whole ecosystem of not just academic textbook teaching, but also real life practice. And that is why I think, in my view, Bristol Business School and generally UWE is at the top of the ladder, and continues to be at the top of the ladder for the last 10 years, as Ray has said. And there are many, many, many small and medium enterprises around these big companies, all around, from Bristol to Swindon to Reading, and then to London. And therefore, it is very important for you as agents to understand this ecosystem concept and to be able to relay that to students, whichever program they're interested in. There is a deep link with businesses. And that is why I think UWE has been able to perform consistently on top. And that's makes one of the reasons why it makes students also feel very happy in the whole experience. The other bit of experience is, as students come into UWE, people like myself and my colleagues make them feel really welcome. We also get them to, say, people coming from Nepal or Sri Lanka or India. It's quite natural to feel a bit out of sync, feel homesick, have a bit of culture shock as you go into the UK. And then there is all the expectation about studying hard and all that. So we do make the links with their communities as well. Sorry, that's aircraft. We are probably at war with somebody. I don't know with whom though. but I'm quite close to the defense airfield, so apologies for that. And so we make people feel extremely at home. I have got students from Myanmar, from Thailand, from Vietnam, who I'm supervising on their dissertation on master's degrees. And they are all in touch with their own communities as they come to the UK as well, just to make them feel settled and a little bit more, a little bit of hand holding as they come into the UK for the first few months. So I think if you have any questions, you will find my email somewhere around the team. You can ping it to me if you've got any specific questions. But I also think that it is important, particularly in India, where you have the sectors opening up. There is the education sector, which is going to go through a reform now. And there is also the retail sector. As you would have seen, the Parliament has passed a bill about agricultural land, and as well as the farming and the agro-based industry, which is now going to open up considerably to the rest of the world. And therefore, I'm expecting you would have quite a bit of demand in the next few years coming for retail management and management of anything around MNCs, as in multinational corporations, international business, interacting with people from different backgrounds, etc. So that might just open up as well. So with that, I'm just going to end there, because it is as long as a piece of string and I can keep talking to you, other than ghost stories, of course, but there you go. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sandhya. And I mean, it is just an amazing range of courses. Can I just ask one question? Because one of the things that we obviously offer, we've got the MBA program, and everybody wants to go for the MBA, it often seems, many applications for the MBA. And then we have the MSc International Management, and then we have the MSc Business Management. Now, does it matter which course the student goes for? Is one better than the other, or are there key differences? I mean, I always find it difficult to say, why do we have these three? But the MBA route, is that essential for everybody? In your view, just an opinion.
Right. So it depends on what the students, individual students' trajectory is. Some students, when they are going through their bachelor's degree itself, feel that, I like finance better, or I like HR better, or I like one of these functional areas of management better. And so they would then prefer to go down the route of HRM or finance or law or what have you. But MBA is a business administration. So it's basically, we train individuals to become jack of all trades to administer the business. And unfortunately or fortunately, the MBA still holds the top level ranking, because there is a perception that if you're able to administer a business, it doesn't matter whether you are technically qualified in that business or not. And therefore, it's a generalist degree, but it's also a degree which goes to the extent of having a good grasp on all the functional areas of the business. And therefore, you would be able to reach something higher. But if somebody wants to make it very specific, or a little bit more specific, and they're quite interested in HR and not finance, or finance and not HR, or marketing, or operations, etc., then that's where the demarcation is, and it goes a little bit more in depth in those functional areas. Whereas in the MBA, it's more general, and you then learn how to look at everything in balance and not be skewed towards one or another. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks, Sandhya. And of course, with the MBA program, people have to have had a minimum of 2 years actual experience in the working world. So that's something that's required as well. But it's always difficult. And just my feeling is, from the experience that students have had, that actually the courses, that none of them are wrong. They go on
That's
the
right.
courses, and as you've said, if you go to business management, what happens in business management is you have some more specialist pathways in
Yeah.
HRM or in supply chain management.
Yeah.
And so that's that opportunity. In international management, as it says, very much looking at things in an international context. And the MBA, I think it's really good if you've got that work experience behind you.
Yeah.
But to me, I've been looking at a lot of the applications for the MBA, and it's really good when you see an applicant who comes forward perhaps with 8, 9 years, 10 years experience in a range of different tasks and a range of different roles. That's really helpful. Anyway, as you said, Sandia, we could talk for a long time about this, and we have to move on because we know people are really busy. And so we need to just share a little bit more information with everyone before we finish for the afternoon. Just a reminder, I said that the fees were all unchanged in the next year, and here are the fees. Again, they're exactly the same as this year, but I did mention that we are going to be looking at international scholarships. Now, I can't tell you the news yet, and we won't be actually talking about the new scholarships until January. For this January, if you have a student who's looking for a scholarship, you just need to talk to the team. We don't have a lot of funding available, I'm afraid, for January 2021 now. We've given out £1.5 million worth of scholarships actually during this cycle. So I've got to be honest with you, not a lot of scholarship funding available for January, but we will be launching some new scholarship schemes in the new year for the actual 2021 September intake. But there we go, there's the actual costs. And of course, the MBA is the most expensive program. But again, we are expecting people to have worked for a period of time, so perhaps they can afford that extra bit of fee. So we obviously want you to really appreciate the fact that we thank you for the support that you've given us in terms of recruiting to the UK. So a little bit to actually share with you. The first thing I want to share is actually my thanks and my congratulations to our new team in India, Sri Lanka, Bhutan and Nepal, because everybody joined us from January, February onwards, set up our office, actually worked with MSM within the sort of country of India, and actually had to establish everything from scratch. And I know when I came round and met all of you back in February on that tour of India, we were so hopeful that we would be able to turn everything and perform things in an amazing way. Well, we've also learned that sometimes some of those pressures have made things quite difficult for us. So we are working hard on improving our systems, on actually making sure that where we have been perhaps a bit slow in making offers, that as we go on, we'll just get faster and faster. I'm a great believer that things will only get better. I think it's been pretty amazing with your support, but I do know for some courses, people have had to wait a bit too long for getting their offers. Just looking ahead, there's some pretty exciting things on their way in 2021. We've got some new business pathways in January. I've mentioned those in business management, with supply chain management, with digital marketing, and with international human resource management. But there's a lot of other real possibilities coming on their way. So do look out for the new courses. We'll be sharing some marketing material for those, but I think they're quite exciting. I've mentioned the new scholarship details, so we'll be able to help out, I hope, more students than ever before in the next year. Now, at the moment, our team are going to be working with you on actually setting you up with your formal UWE contract. As you know, we recognised you as agents to work with us, and that was quite important. You helped us greatly by submitting your profile, and we actually approved those. But now we're at the point where obviously you're sending us students, and we need to actually pay you your commission. To do that, you have to have a contract with us. And this will give you access to a portal, which means that you'll be able to upload lots of the information directly. So instead of you having to send everything in PDF form in the future, you'll have a computer system that you'll be able to use. But the most important thing at the moment is that we'll be setting you up with a contract, and we'll be doing that in October. So if you've had students who paid deposits to us, that's what we'll be doing with your companies. If you haven't had any students pay deposits, we will still be looking towards contracting with you, but that'll come a bit later on, because obviously the priority has to be with those agents who've sent us students, because we're going to start on the commission-based process. Before I come on to the commission and talk about that, just a reminder, I keep on talking about careers. I keep on talking about our success in terms of students actually getting employment. Don't forget that statistic I love to share. 97% of all our international students were in careers, both in their home countries or internationally, after graduating from the university in 2019. That is an incredible statistic. And we want to keep that statistic going. And we know challenging times for young people and not so young people going into the employment market. But we're going to be doing all that we can, such as our online grad link, such as through our careers service and through our placement service, to try and help students achieve the first steps in their career, or their promoted steps in their career if they're going from a postgraduate course. So I just wanted to say that commitment is absolutely there to keep supporting students. And GradLink India is something you might want to look at, and that's expanding out to be GradLink for the whole of South Asia. Now, just thinking of working with you, just to say we're just about to begin in October, the contract paperwork that you have to do. I'm afraid it's like all contracts, there's a little bit of paperwork to do, so we will be asking you to fill in some forms and to fill in some bank details. It's really important, please, that you stick with those instructions, because it's much easier if we can get it all done in one quick sweep and set you up with a contract. We'll be able to do that very quickly. Our aim is to get those contracts completed in October, but as I say, obviously that will only be with our companies where we've had people pay deposits, because they're the people where students are going to be going to UWE. We will be starting to actually sort out the commission claim basis in early November. The last date that students can register this term is November the 9th. So obviously that's the time when we'll be able to know exactly the students that you have sent to us have registered in the UK. So from that time onwards, we'll be actually working with you to sort out the invoice, to check that the students have actually registered, to make sure that we've got everything ready, because the plan is to get you paid with your commission in mid-December. Obviously, this will require all the paperwork to be correct, but we've got a team of 3 people in our office in KL who support commission. You've got the team here in India who actually manage the commission basis for the 4 countries we're talking to today. And so that's really important, but it does require us to be all working together to actually get that commission payment sorted. But I just wanted to share that really good news with you, that we are actually going to try and make sure, because you've supported us so much, that we will support you to get you payments this year rather than delaying them in a year where we know the start of term is much later than normal. Just a reminder that the CAS for the January intake is going to start in a couple of weeks' time. So very soon now. And of course, just a reminder again, this means those students will be applying under the new visa regulations. But don't panic about that. There is no worry. It's called something different, the student visa. But other than that, for you, the straightforward, simple processes that you've always followed will be fine. We have to do a few things differently at the university, but honestly, that's not something you need to worry about. That's just between the university and the visa authorities in the UK. There will be no additional restrictions on students travelling to the UK. But do be reminded that the UK VI for India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, I'm not sure about Bhutan, but certainly for those 3 countries, they are doing what they call a spot credibility interview system. So what this means is they'll just pick out some numbers and then they'll call that student, and they have a list of about 30 questions that they will ask the student. And if the student really struggles to speak in English, or doesn't know that they're traveling to Bristol, or doesn't know the degree that they're going to study, it will be no surprise that they will not get their visa. So all I can say, agents, is everything that you can do to actually make sure that those students have had a bit of a practice, have got themselves ready for an interview on the phone. It's never so easy when it's on the phone, and they get all these questions that they can say a bit about Bristol. They can say something about the course that they've applied for. They can say a little bit about where the money's coming from. I mean, that question comes up time and time again, that the student is asked about the actual money. And the student says, oh, I don't know anything about the money, or very vague about the money itself. It's really important that students can talk about where the income has come from. Now, the last day for applications for January are going to be at some point in November. We haven't got an absolute date yet, but all I'd say to you is what I said earlier: the courses are filling fast. I personally think that applications up until about the end of October will probably get the choice of courses they want. I think once we go into November, it will be what's kind of left. So if students want the course they're really keen on, let's get those applications in now. Some courses with really limited capacity are already full. But obviously, once we know that, if you contact our office, once you have a course, we constantly update the lists that are full, and obviously we'd quickly tell the student, this course is full, this is an alternative. One thing that I'm always clear about with the university is once we've made an offer, they will have that offer honoured. We're not a university that takes hundreds and hundreds of people with offers and then says, oh, sorry, can't take you all now, we'll have to delay your intake. Everybody that gets an offer will be joining us in January if that is what they wish. And so that's really important. And that's why we're pretty strict on actually saying a course is full, that's the end of it. We don't take people's applications when we know we can't fill the course. So loads of things to actually consider and go through, but I think everything we've heard today is really quite exciting about the future, because we have already got the experience from this September of the doors being open. Students are arriving in the UK already, and if they're not arriving yet, they will be over the next couple of weeks. They're going to be starting their studies, face-to-face teaching with blended learning, where they actually have some online work as well. They'll be starting that in October. And with all the year and all the pressures there's been, I think that is just amazing. And next summer, of course, we're going to be celebrating not only students graduating, but students starting on their post-study work, their graduate route sort of experience as well. So it's such good news. And so you've been sticking with us and we're sticking with you, because at the end of the day, of course, we know this is in the great interests of students, and it's going to be a fantastic time. Their life can't be put on hold because of what a difficult year it's been. Their lives move forward and we've got to support that. So, oh, I've ended the show. Didn't mean to do that. That shows it's live. But just to say at the end, thank you very much for all you're doing. And then I'm going to hand over to Jancy and Ranjita, because I'm sure questions have come up. We've just got a few minutes where we can answer some questions. I said we'd be short and brief, but as always, I've talked far too much. I should have been drinking more of my coffee. That would have kept me quiet. And we can now see if we've got any questions that we can answer.
Thank you, Ray. That's the energy that's keeping us moving too. We had lots of questions regarding the requirements of Ielts, Duolingo and everything. Mostly agents are concerned like Duolingo will be accepted further for January 21 and September 21.
Well, now this is, I think, a very good question, because the inside information I have is that Duolingo at the moment is being questioned by the UK authorities. Now, I have to tell you, that isn't something I've got officially. It's just somebody has told me, but generally, you know, rumors can come true. So I don't think it's a case that Duolingo will not be accepted. I think it's a case that they may have to change their assessments. At the moment for January, absolutely definite. So for January, Duolingo, 100 for undergraduate, 110 score for postgraduate is accepted. But for next September, things can always change. And so we'll just have to keep people updated. At the moment, it's yes, no problem. But as I say, I've just heard this rumor that it is being looked at.
The another question is like, as you mentioned earlier, from the 5th of October, the changes that is coming down to the visa. So how it is affecting the offers that are without IELTS and for other applicants, how it's going to affect.
Could you just say that again, Jancy? You cut out just in the middle. Proving it's live again. We always prove these shows are live.
So sorry for that. The question is like the changes coming down for the visa rules from 5th of October.
Yes.
So what changes it's going to make to the offer letters without IELTS?
Oh, in terms of the offer letters, it won't. They're still conditional. They are conditional offers, and it will require people to have one of the English language qualifications. The big change in the new visa is that we have to justify, this is the university, to the visa authorities what English language tests we accept. So what we have to do is no longer just tick a box that says this student has got this IELTS or this student has got this UWE placement test. We have to show the evidence that they've done that test, that we've got the results, that those results are logged, all of that. But honestly, from the point of view of the agent, there will be possibly one or two bits of changes in the wording on the offer letter, but essentially it's going to be a conditional offer as always. There is one thing you've just reminded me of, Jancy, though, we're going to be very aware of this time, and that's those people who have to apply for the ATAS, the ATAS certificate. Those people who do postgraduate studies in things like mechanical engineering, because one of the things we almost missed this year was getting ATAS students to apply for ATAS early enough. And it's meant that one or two students now are just waiting to get their ATAS certificate. So that's something we're putting right on the offer letters. But other than that, the conditional and the unconditional process is going to be just the same.
Thank you, Ray. And the next question is related to CAS only. Again, same as you mentioned earlier, like CAS is acceptable after 5th of October. What the changes will be there for the CAS and all?
Yeah, the critical thing on the CAS is that end date. So, you know, it's valid for 6 months. And so the critical thing is, you know, it will obviously show the last date when a student can actually start at the university, but the CAS is only valid for 6 months. But to be honest, if they got this CAS, you know, this month in September, obviously it's valid all the way through till next March. There is no problem. They will be able to use that CAS for the new application period, because the reality is we obviously have been issuing 1 or 2 CAS, but I'm not even sure, and you can answer this, Jancy, have we issued CAS yet for anybody in January?
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet. And we're not even going to start doing that until the middle of October. So it will all be, the CAS that you'll get will be the one that's valid for the new visa anyway. Because there are new terms. There's no such thing as a tier 4 visa anymore. It's called the student visa. Exactly the same, they've just renamed it.
That's perfect. So all other are the requirements, so we can answer it down to everybody. If you have any further queries, you can drop down an email to south.asia@uwe.ac.uk. So I hope this whole session was quite informative to you. And we look forward to have a great recruitment session. Thank you, Ray. Thank you for your time. Sandhya?
Yeah, Jancy, hi.
Yep.
Do we have 1 minute? I wanted
sure,
to.
go ahead.
So there was a question I just saw on the chat. It's relating to the difference. Is there any difference between students graduating from a Russell Group university to a normal university?
Okay.
So that's from Rahul Gorugantu. Yeah, right. Rahul, here's the deal. There is no normal or abnormal university. Okay, that's the first one. Second thing is Russell Group University, that was almost old way of thinking. So the modern universities such as UWE, De Montfort, Coventry, etc., actually takes students, UWE takes students who do not have 10, 15 years of experience, let's say onto an MBA program, whereas, Judge Business School from Cambridge or a Said Business School from Oxford would only take students if they are, whatever, 10, 15 years executives. So,
Oh. I think.
Hi.
Hello, you got cut there. I think, Sandhya, that was one of those ghosts you've been telling us about.
Probably. They're chasing me from England. No, I just wanted to say that, the modern universities, post-92, as we call them in the UK, like UWE, actually accept students from, with 2 years of experience. And at the end of the 1 year they are with us, they end up getting a really good job, good placement. That I think is much more in sense of achievement, rather than what is the point taking students who are A-listers who have done 15 years and then they pay £50,000 and obviously they are going to graduate in flying colors. And you only have so many students who can afford that or have that kind of experience. So, so UWE, I think, is a lot better in terms of inclusivity and taking people from different backgrounds and giving them the opportunity and setting them up for life. And that I think is very important. We are not a normal university. We are a fantastic university. That's all I wanted to say.
That was a good finish, Sandhya. I don't think we can beat that.
No problem. Thank you.
Exactly. We just finished it at the perfect point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session. And we will meet you soon with the next webinar. Keep connected and drop an email for any further query. Thank you all.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Ranjit.
Thank you.